I was a 28-year-old marketing executive in Chicago, with a promising career ahead of me. My relationship with my mother used to be close. We shared everything. That was before she tried to force me to marry my creepy stepbrother Jake to satisfy some twisted inheritance scheme. I still cannot believe my own mother would betray me this way, demanding I bear his child just for money. Now she shows up at my workplace causing scenes and spreading lies about an inheritance I never wanted. If you are watching this and have ever had family try to control your life, drop a comment below about how you handled it and subscribe to hear how I turned this nightmare around. My parents divorced when I was 15. It was messy, but not unexpected. Dad worked too much. Mom felt neglected, and eventually they realized they wanted different things in life. I stayed with Mom in our suburban home outside Chicago, while Dad moved downtown for his new position at a law firm. 2 years later, when I was 17, Mom met Robert Caldwell at a charity function. He was charming, successful, and owned a chain of luxury car dealerships across the Midwest. Their romance moved quickly. Within 6 months they were married, and we moved into his sprawling lakefront mansion. That was when I first met Jake Roberts' 19-year-old son from his previous marriage. From our very first interaction, something about him made my skin crawl. He stared too long, stood too close, and somehow always managed to be wherever I was in that massive house. He just wants to bond with his new stepsister, Mom would say, whenever I mentioned feeling uncomfortable. Give him a chance, Emily. We need to make this family work. I counted down the days until college. When acceptance letters came, I chose Northwestern partly for its academic reputation, and partly because it was just far enough to justify living in the dorms instead of at home. During those years, I limited my visits to holidays and occasional weekends, always making sure I had friends to accompany me or excuses to leave early. After graduation, I threw myself into building my career at a digital marketing firm. I rose quickly from junior copywriter to senior content strategist to my current role as campaign executive director. My relationship with Mom remained cordial, but distant. We did lunch once a month and called weekly, but I kept conversations surface level, avoiding anything too personal. As for Jake, I saw him only at mandatory family functions where he continued to watch me in ways that made me want to shower afterward. Everything changed 6 months ago when Robert received a terminal pancreatic cancer diagnosis. The doctors gave him less than a year. Mom was devastated. I tried to support her with regular visits and helping arrange medical care, while still maintaining my professional boundaries with the rest of the family. That was when Mom began dropping hints about me and Jake reconnecting and strengthening family bonds during this difficult time. At first, I thought she was just anxious about the future and seeking comfort in family unity. I was wrong. You know, Emily, you and Jake should consider getting to know each other better, she said during one of our lunch dates, stirring her iced tea with unusual intensity. Mom, we have known each other for over a decade. He makes me uncomfortable. That has not changed. Sometimes people change, she persisted, and sometimes we need to see people differently when circumstances change. What circumstances? She leaned forward, lowering her voice. Robert has been revising his will since the diagnosis. There is a family unity clause that would triple the inheritance if Jake marries within the family. I nearly choked on my water. Are you suggesting what I think you are suggesting? Think about it, Emily. You are both single. You already share a family connection. It could be a practical arrangement. Practical. You want me to marry my stepbrother for money, the same stepbrother who has creeped me out for years. Are you insane? Do not be so dramatic. It is not like you share blood, and Jake has always admired you. Admired. Is that what you call the way he stares at me like I am something to consume? I threw my napkin on the table. I cannot believe we are even having this conversation. This is disgusting, Mom. Emily, you are not thinking clearly. Robert has millions. With this marriage, we could all be set for life. You could quit that job that takes up all your time. Start a family. With Jake, you expect me to have children with him. My voice had risen enough that nearby diners were glancing our way. I lowered it to a furious whisper. I would rather live in poverty. That was our first major argument about it. but definitely not the last. Mom became increasingly fixated on this sick plan. Our weekly calls devolved into her listing reasons why I should at least consider dating Jake. Every lunch turned into an ambush where she would try new angles to convince me. 2 days after that first conversation, my phone lit up with a text from Jake. We had never exchanged numbers personally, so Mom must have given it to him. "Hey, Emily, it's Jake. Mom says we should talk about the future." Dinner Friday, I blocked his number immediately, but that was just the beginning. The situation escalated rapidly over the next few weeks. I arrived home one evening to find a package outside my apartment door. No shipping label, just my name scrawled in unfamiliar handwriting. Inside was a photo album. Flipping it open, my blood turned to ice. Page after page of photos of me. Some were family gatherings where Jake had been present, but others were clearly taken without my knowledge. Me leaving my office building. Me having coffee with friends. Me getting into my car in the parking garage of my apartment complex. The most recent was from just 3 days earlier. I called the police, but they were frustratingly unhelpful. No explicit threats, they said. No trespassing evidence since these were taken in public places. They advised me to file for a restraining order if the behavior continued, and to document everything. The next morning, my receptionist called my office line. "Emily, your mother is here to see you. She does not have an appointment." I stepped out to find Mom standing in our sleek reception area, drawing curious glances from colleagues. "Mom, I am in meetings all morning." "What are you doing here? You have been avoiding my calls. We need to discuss the situation with Robert. His condition is worsening. I am sorry about Robert, but there is nothing to discuss about your other proposal. Please, this is my workplace." She raised her voice. "Family comes before career, Emily. Always. Robert has been a father to you, and this is how you repay his generosity, by refusing to even consider helping secure the family legacy." People were definitely staring now. I pulled her into an empty conference room. "Stop this right now. I am not marrying Jake. Not for any inheritance, not for any reason. Ever. This conversation is over. This selfishness is beneath you, Emily. After everything Robert has done, Mom, I need you to leave. Now. Or I will have security escort you out." She left, but the damage was done. My boss, Natalie, called me into her office that afternoon. "Everything okay on the home front, Emily? That seemed like an intense conversation with your mother." I gave her a sanitized version about family stress due to my stepfather's illness. She seemed sympathetic but concerned about potential disruptions. I assured her it would not happen again, but it did. 3 more times that month. Each visit more dramatic than the last. Mom bringing printouts of Robert's medical expenses, fake wedding venue brochures, even a family tree she had doctored, to emphasize the lack of blood relation between Jake and me. Meanwhile, Jake ramped up his campaign. New phone numbers to text me from after I blocked each previous one. Flowers delivered to my office with uncomfortably possessive notes. Once he coincidentally appeared at my favorite coffee shop when I was there with clients. I changed my routines, varied my schedule, but somehow he always found me. I later discovered he had paid a colleague's intern to feed him information about my whereabouts. Desperate for support, I reached out to my father. We had maintained a cordial but distant relationship since the divorce meeting for occasional dinners, but never discussing anything deeper than career updates and current events. "Dad, I need your help," I told him over dinner at his favorite steakhouse. "Mom has lost her mind," I explained the situation. His face darkened with each detail. "This is completely inappropriate, Emily. Diana has crossed every line." He reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "I should have been more present. I am sorry I was not there to protect you from this." His support meant everything, but Mom's behavior only worsened when she learned I had confided in him. "You have always been a daddy's girl," she spat during her next unwelcome office visit. Running to him with tales of how awful I am. He never cared about financial security. That is why I was left with nothing after the divorce. "Is that what you want for yourself? To struggle like I did?" My coworkers began whispering. Clients asked uncomfortable questions when Mom showed up during meetings. Jake started waiting outside my building, claiming he just happened to be in the neighborhood. Then came the family calls. Aunts, uncles, cousins, I barely spoke to, all reaching out with concerned messages. Emily, we heard about your engagement. Why keep it secret? Your mother told us about you and Jake. So romantic that you found love in the family. When is the wedding? Diana says spring. Mom was telling everyone we were already engaged. The web of lies grew so tangled I could barely keep track. People who had my contact information only because we shared blood suddenly felt entitled to details about my non-existent relationship. The final straw came during a crucial presentation to our biggest potential client. I was midway through my pitch when the conference room door burst open. Mom stood there clutching a folder. Sorry to interrupt, she announced to the stunned room, but Emily needs to sign these prenuptial documents today. The lawyer is waiting. My career, my reputation, everything I had worked for seemed to shatter in that moment. Robert died on a Tuesday morning in early October. Despite everything, I attended the funeral out of respect for the man who, while not close to me, had never been unkind. The reading of the will was scheduled for the following Monday at Robert's attorney's office. I debated not attending, but decided I needed to hear firsthand what was in this supposed family unity clause that had driven my mother to such extremes. The sleek downtown law office was uncomfortably tense as we gathered around a mahogany table. Robert's attorney, Mr. Patterson, a silver-haired man with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses, began reading the standard legal language. Then came the revelation that changed everything. To my stepchild, Emily Clark, I leave the sum of $250,000 to be placed in a trust accessible solely to her. Having observed concerning behavior from my son Jake toward Emily over the years, I wish to ensure she has resources of her own, independent of family pressure. The room froze. Mom's face contorted in disbelief. Jake glared at me with such hatred I instinctively moved my chair away from him. That cannot be right, Mom interrupted. What about the family unity clause? The triple inheritance for marriage within the family? Mr. Patterson looked confused. Mrs. Caldwell, there is no such clause in this document. He must have changed it. Emily must have manipulated him before he died. Her voice rose hysterically. She visited him in the hospital. She must have convinced him to change it. The will was finalized 6 months ago, shortly after Mr. Heder Caldwell's diagnosis, and has not been altered since Mr. Patterson said firmly. Now, continuing on. I sat in stunned silence as the attorney finished reading. The bulk of Robert's estate went to Mom with specific assets to Jake and smaller bequests to various charities. No mention of any marriage conditions or family unity clauses. Mom had lied, fabricated the entire premise for her twisted matchmaking scheme. As we exited the attorney's office, Mom grabbed my arm with surprising strength. This is not over, Emily. You think you have won, but you have not. Won what, Mom? There was never any contest. You lied about the will to manipulate me. Why would you try to force me to marry someone who terrifies me? You have always been so dramatic. Jake is a good man. The two of you together would have secured all our futures. You need help, Mom. Professional help. I pulled away from her grip and walked toward the elevator. That afternoon, I received an email from my company HR department requesting a meeting. When I arrived, my boss Natalie was there, along with the HR director. Emily, we value your contributions to this company. Natalie began carefully. But the continuing disruptions have become untenable. Clients are expressing concerns. We think it might be best if you take some paid leave, the HR director added, just until this family situation stabilizes. I was being pushed out of my own career because of Mom's behavior. Things deteriorated further. Jake began parking outside my apartment building at night. Mom told extended family members I was having mental health issues and fabricating stories about them. When I changed my phone number, Mom somehow obtained the new one and shared it with Jake. The breaking point came when my neighbor called to tell me Mom was in our building lobby telling everyone I was suicidal and needed family intervention. By the time I got downstairs, she had convinced the building manager to let her into my apartment for my own safety. I found her rifling through my personal papers, including bank statements. "What are you doing?" I demanded. "Looking for evidence," she said, without shame. "You must have done something to convince Robert to change his will. He would never have left you money independently unless you manipulated him." The violation, the accusation, the weeks of harassment, all crashed down on me. I felt my chest tighten, my vision narrow. I could not breathe. The room spun. I woke up in the hospital. Anxiety attack, the doctors said. My body finally shutting down under the weight of constant stress. As I lay there, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Hope you feel better soon, stepsister. Mom says I should come take care of you." While I was in the hospital, Mom apparently told everyone I had had a nervous breakdown and was not in my right mind. When I checked my email, I discovered she had even contacted my company, claiming to have medical power of attorney and requesting my work files while Emily recovers. The ultimate betrayal came 3 days after my release from the hospital. A legal notice arrived informing me that Diana Caldwell had filed for temporary guardianship over me, claiming I was mentally incompetent to manage my own affairs. My own mother was trying to have me declared incompetent so she could control my life and access the trust Robert had left me. I sat on my living room floor surrounded by the paperwork, feeling more alone than I ever had in my life. Then my phone rang. A number I did not recognize. "Is this Emily Clark? This is Thomas Wilson, Robert's former business partner. We need to talk. There are things you should know, mister." Wilson met me at a quiet cafe far from my usual haunts. He was a tall, distinguished man in his 60s who had co-run Robert's dealerships for decades. "Robert came to me about 6 months ago, shortly after his diagnosis," he explained. "He was concerned about Jake's behavior toward you. He had noticed things over the years that troubled him deeply." "What kind of things?" "Photos Jake kept of you. Comments he made when you were not around. Robert installed security cameras in the house after finding Jake in your old bedroom when you were away at college. He caught him going through your things multiple times. I felt sick. Why did no one tell me?" Robert confronted Jake. "Got him therapy. He thought it had stopped. When the cancer diagnosis came, he realized he needed to protect you after he was gone. That is why he created your separate trust and documented everything with his attorney." "Documented what exactly?" "Security footage, journals, evidence of Jake's obsession. He gave it all to Mr. Patterson for safekeeping in case you ever needed protection." He slid a business card across the table. "This is Patterson's direct line. Call him. Tell him I sent you. That meeting changed everything." I contacted Mr. Patterson immediately and explained the situation. He confirmed everything Wilson had told me and offered to help. Robert was concerned this might happen. He asked me to assist you if Diana or Jake ever became problematic. With his guidance, I filed for restraining orders against both Mom and Jake. The evidence Robert had compiled, combined with my own documentation of their recent harassment, made it an open and shut case. I secured my inheritance with legal protections that prevented anyone else from accessing it. Then, I reached out to my company's HR department with my newly acquired evidence and legal documentation. "We had no idea the situation was this severe," the HR director said after reviewing everything. "Your position remains secure. Take whatever time you need, and we will ensure proper security measures when you return." Dad stepped up in ways I never expected, offering both emotional and practical support. He helped me find a new apartment in a secure building and introduced me to his firm's security consultant, who improved my privacy protections. "I should have been there for you all along," he told me. "I will not fail you again." When extended family members reached out with concerns about the family drama, I calmly shared court documents rather than engaging in he said, she said arguments. The restraining orders and evidence spoke for themselves. 3 weeks after obtaining the restraining orders, Mom sent a letter through her attorney. "Emily, I realize my behavior has been inappropriate. I was grieving and afraid for the future. I never meant to hurt you. Please consider family counseling so we can repair our relationship. I did not respond immediately. Instead, I focused on rebuilding my life. I accepted a temporary transfer to our company's Boston office, putting physical distance between myself and the situation while maintaining my career trajectory. In my new city, I joined a support group for survivors of family abuse. Hearing others' stories helped me understand that what I had experienced was not normal or acceptable regardless of mom's intentions or explanations. Family does not mean unconditional acceptance of harmful behavior, my therapist reminded me. Healthy relationships require boundaries, respect, and trust, even between parents and children. 6 months into my new life, I felt ready to respond to Mom's letter. I wrote that, while I was not ready for in-person contact, I would consider virtual family therapy sessions if she committed to individual therapy first. Her response was telling. She agreed, but added, "I hope someday you will understand I was only thinking of your financial security. It will be a long journey to rebuild any semblance of trust if that ever becomes possible. Jake remains completely out of my life, the restraining order renewed at the first opportunity. Through this nightmare, I learned that family is not just about blood or legal ties. Real family protects you, respects your boundaries, and wants what is best for you, not what serves their interests. I found unexpected family in my supportive colleagues and the friends who stood by me, and my father, who stepped up when I needed him most, and even in Robert, who tried to protect me when he saw what others refused to acknowledge. Today, I am building a life based on genuine connections and mutual respect. I am wiser about the red flags of manipulation, and stronger in my conviction that no inheritance, no amount of money, is worth sacrificing my safety, dignity, or autonomy. What would you do if someone you trusted tried to control your life for their benefit? Have you ever had to establish boundaries with family members who crossed the line? Comment below with your experiences. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe for more real-life family stories about finding strength in difficult situations. Thank you for listening, and remember, your worth is never determined by what others try to make you do. It comes from staying true to yourself even when those who should support you try to lead you astray.